If you're doubting your childhood faith or cynical about the world around you, you are not alone. I promise you that. There is a documented, quiet migration away from organized religion. I've had the privilege of living in 8 different countries representing all the major religions of the world, and I've traveled to 50 plus more and seen every variety of organized religion. I am not a prophet, and I am not here to convert you. But I can say that when you strip away the architecture and you strip away the dogma, you can find common threads. I'm just a traveler who was lost without an altar, searching for meaning in what's left of the ruins. So I'm introducing this limited series covering all the world's great religions and trying to find the hidden truths inside them. Welcome to the Altarless Traveler, a place for the spiritually curious, the questioners, and the deconstructors. We begin this journey in the heart of Texas with Roman Catholicism. I've always heard, once a Catholic, always a Catholic, and there is truth to that. If you know anything, you probably know about Catholic guilt, but it's something that non-Catholics, I don't think, can really understand. It's an all-pervasive feeling that you're just not good enough no matter what it is that you do. And it's not just the theological concept, and it's not just the big things, it's little things too. It's like not being able to sleep in because you know you've got some work to do. It's like not being able to enjoy a nice hotel because you know there's homeless right outside. It's as simple as not even being able to enjoy a meal because you think about people who don't have that and who are starving. I remember one time in my childhood, we sat down for a meal during Lent, and my mother had prepared potato soup. She took the money we would have spent on the meal, and she placed it into a jar on the table. It was maybe $5 and some change. My dad said, "What is this shit? Where's the hamburger?" And she said, "No, Leonard, we're having potato soup to think about the poor people." I looked at that jar, and she had glued a photograph of a starving Ethiopian child. His ribs were showing through his stomach. And I thought, God didn't feed this child, and the government didn't feed this child, and his friends and family, even the photographer there who took the picture, didn't feed this child. But we're going to do it from halfway around the world in Texas? That's Catholic guilt. My guilty conscience wasn't an accident. It was part of my lineage. My father attended seminary school twice. He dropped out twice. The second time so he could marry my mom. And I was an altar boy for years. I was an altar boy from like 6 years old. I would return to the church, coming back from university, 18, 19 years old, and be asked to serve at the altar because Father didn't have someone. And kneeling at the altar, I was bored. I found things to count. How many men, how many women, how many children, how many people with hats, how many people with glasses. And then I would start getting really freaky, like we're getting communion ready, and I'm trying to calculate in my mind, if we're eating Jesus, how many Jesuses have been consumed in the last 2,000 years? And probably not hard to understand why I felt a little guilty about that. Years later, I did find that answer, and it seems silly now, but back then it wasn't a joke. If you missed one Mass and didn't have a valid excuse, you could be damned for eternal hell. So imagine the terror you felt. Imagine the terror I felt as a child who was thinking, I don't think I believe in this dogma. I don't think I believe in the literal Christ. Imagine how I felt about where my soul was happening, what kind of risk I was putting myself at. That's guilt, and that was real, and I still live with some of that. So I kept quiet, and in isolation, I assumed I was alone. So what did I learn? Let's look at some data on Catholics and then finish with lessons learned. They represent half the Christians on earth. 1.3 billion people. You see the heavy ink where you'd expect it, Latin America and parts of Europe, but also in the Philippines, a massive anomaly in Asia. But because this map is just a snapshot, it hides a massive shift. The density you see in the West is actually shrinking, while the center of gravity is silently moving south into places like sub-Saharan Africa. Here's another look at it, changing the map to a demographic cartogram. If you've never seen one of these, it distorts the actual size of land masses to reflect total population instead of raw geography. Notice how Europe and Latin America balloon out like massive weights, while Russia and China completely shrivel away. And there's the Philippines again, swelling so large it practically swallows the rest of Southeast Asia. And although the sheer number has grown in this modern world, along with the explosion of population, underneath this lies a massive tectonic shift. If you watch the timeline of global rankings over the last few decades, you see the real drama unfold. You see a completely different kind of gravity at work. Focus on the brown line. Catholicism, in 1990, it held a comfortable second place, then steadily descended the ranks, slipping to fourth and almost fifth, while Islam dominated and the nuns came out of nowhere. My thoughts mirrored a global shift. In the United States alone, for every one adult who joins the Catholic Church, more than 8 walk away from it. Nearly half of the people raised Catholic eventually leave entirely. You have to ask yourself, why? Anyone with Catholic guilt knows the answer. It's the sheer exhaustion of constant self-scrutiny. At its core, the faith is deeply obsessed with human shortcomings. So what have I learned about Catholicism? It is obsessed with brokenness. It teaches us to look inward to observe our flaws. And then it even has us seek atonement for those flaws, a sacrament called penance, or you might know it as confession. You know, going into the dark booth with a priest and telling him your sins. But that confession is to cleanse yourself, and under is a deeper truth, that human need for forgiveness, to clear the ledger when we mess up in order to obtain grace. But I've come to the realization that we are already accepted, flaws and all. 84% of the world identifies with a religion that has some form of absolution built in, some way to cleanse that palate, because carrying that brokenness, it ruins us, and as humans, we want to be cleared. Catholicism taught me that we all crave that reset button. We just differ on who holds the remote control. I am one of those data points, and I think the shame, the guilt, I think the frustration with it all pushed me away from the church and out the door. And I left the altar. I packed a bag, and I decided to travel the world and see how everyone else provided answers to these essential questions of life. When you break out of your childhood bubble, the world changes. Next week, in episode 2, we are crossing the ocean and landing in a place that completely shattered what the Western media had set on my expectations of Islam. We are going to Kuwait to see what I found to be some of the radically generous people I've ever met, and also some of the most disciplined. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Tell us about your own childhood experiences, maybe with guilt, maybe with something else. Or if not, tell us about what you're experiencing today. See you next week. Thank you.